Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's sit for a few moments together. We'll settle in for the practice. And then, as I was saying, we're going to address the hips and pelvis today in your practice. So you can rest your hands in your lap, please. And just lightly close your eyes. The eyelids don't need to be firm against the eyeballs. You can just let the eyelids drape down. And begin welcoming your breath to re-enter, to re-inhabit your body. And try to sense from within, when you welcome the breath, are there any hindrances? Are there places in your body that feel apprehensive or less available? Maybe places that feel ungrounded, they're away from home. Observe how acknowledging those nuances actually changes the experience of those things. And then notice any change in the receptivity of your body to the breath. When you notice if there was a place that felt apprehensive or less present, ungrounded. When you acknowledged it, what then happened with your breath and your body? And then begin to deepen your breath and try to imagine that on a dimmer switch, that you're slowly increasing the depth or the space of the breath, not doing it abruptly. So one breath to the next, you might get this gentle deepening, lengthening. You don't have to go to like full capacity where you feel stressed about it. But just sense if the breath is able to help you lengthen your spine, or relax your shoulders, or remind you that there is a back hemisphere to the body, not just this front sort of doing part, but also the back hemisphere. We rest more in a felt sense of being. And knowing that during your practice today, whenever you give attention to something that's occurring, your attention is for the purpose of curiosity and discovery. And giving attention to a thing also invites it to transform. So with this in your awareness, please join your hands in Anjali Mudra. And we'll chant the Gayatri mantra to begin. So this is Om Bhur Bhuva Svaha. Om Bhur Bhuva Svaha. Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimoi. Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayata. Om Bhur Svaha. Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimoi. Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayata. Vatsa Vetor Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimoi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. Please open your eyes. And since we'll go really directly into the hips and pelvis, let's actually begin by coming up to standing. And I'd like you to have 2 blocks for this part of your practice. Let me put my things aside and move back with my microphone and my water glass. Oh, and change my camera. So take a wide stance to begin with Prasarita Padottanasana. You want the blocks to be at the ready because we're going to do some variations on this familiar pose. So when you come down, you could place them just at the ready, and you can also start by using them if you want to, or simply touch the floor and come down to Prasarita Padottanasana. Now, in the course of your practice this afternoon, because I want to help you to ground the element of Vata, I am going to recommend that you let the breath be slightly longer on the exhale. So if you just sort of lightly count the breath, and you might add 1 or 2 paces for the exhale, but do this without coercion, with an attitude of kindness. So if you're breathing in for 6 counts, you might breathe out for 7 or 8. And then please come up to your fingertips so your arms are straight. And then walking your hands forward, I'd like you to take the fingertips, not the flat palm, but your fingertips. Lift the centers of your palms like suction cups. And reach back with both hips. And see again if the exhale might be 1 or 2 paces, or maybe even 3 paces longer than your inhale. Now, of course, as you're watching this, as I said during the meditation, anytime we give attention to something, we begin a new relationship with it, and it slightly changes. It is altered. We can have it alter for the better. So as you're noticing the breath, again, no sense of coercion for the exhale to be slightly longer than your inhale. But see if you can bring a kind of wise stewardship to that process for your breath. And exhale 1 more time, and I'd like you to walk your hands back and take the 2 blocks and place them under your hands and shoulders like this. Now, turn your right foot directly out to the right, bend your right knee, and walk the 2 blocks to the right. Okay, so this is, you've heard me say this before, it's a pose I call the football yoga pose combo, because it's like we're playing football here we're on the scrimmage line, but you've got your legs in warrior 2. Okay, so press your right knee open. And as you do that, you have to use the muscles at the outside of your right hip joint. Now, resist the urge to hang into your right hip socket. Press into your right big toe, your outer right heel. Aim your knee to the right and lengthen your right inner thigh. And see if even with this exertion, can you invite the exhale to be slightly longer than your inhale. Now place your right hand up against your right knee and give your right knee some support. So you're going to be opening as if you had the right thigh open as far as it would go from the hinge of the door, which is your right outer hip. Now you're adding a little support. If you can, you're welcome to straighten your right arm. Notice the upper inner right thigh, the length of your inhale, the length of your exhale. And then please straighten your right leg. Rotate your right foot in to be parallel again and walk your blocks and your hands to the left. Turn your left foot directly out. Bend your left knee. So we're going to start without support against your left knee. We're going to start with just using the muscles of the hip. So press your left knee open. Reach into your right inner heel. So your right leg is still a very strong support leg for you. As you inhale, press into your left big toe, left outer heel, open the left knee to your left, and tone your left outer hip muscles right behind the back of your thigh bone. Noticing the pace and length of your breath cycle. Observe if there are any changes as you place your left hand up to press your left knee open. You lengthen your left inner thigh. You've also just made a slight change to the shape of your pelvic floor. You may notice that your breath pace changes if you've brought greater ease to your experience by placing your left hand up. You might notice it changes if you have a deeper sensation than you did before your left hand was against your knee. And then you can straighten your left leg. Please bring your left foot into parallel. Walk your blocks back to center and rise up to standing. Okay, now we're going to play with something with your outer hips. So those outer hip muscles that you were using are right around the outside of the trochanter. And so we're going to do this practice. We've done this before. I know some of you have said, wow, that's amazingly painful. Some of you have said, oh my God, I didn't know I even had muscles back there. You're going to take these two blocks on the floor in a diagonal, like this little triangle. And I will show you here. So when you lie down, you place the feet, pick up your hips, and put the two blocks so that when you rest like this, the block is really right behind the trochanter. So it's not up against the sacrum, it's just a little bit wider than your sacrum, right behind the trochanter bones. And if you take the knees a little bit to and fro, you're going to feel, oh, there are muscles back there. There are muscles back there. Okay, so what I'd like you to consider then is just let yourself have some exploration to start. Make sure your blocks aren't going to move. And if you make a circle with one knee or with the other, what can you get to know about this part of your body? So let that be improvisational. Try to smile at your discoveries. There's nothing in your body that's trying to be unkind to you. And I'd like you to bring it to a place that we're going to call center and take both arms out into a T shape. Now if you place the knees so that they're up at about 90-90, you're going to use some core abdominal strength here to pick up both knees and go over to your right side. So you've rolled to the outside of your right hip on the block. Right. And then I'd like you to go slowly, really slowly back to center. So yes, you are sensing the muscles right behind the thigh bone. Yes, they might be tender. Use your deep abdominal strength, your pelvic floor, your outer hips, and lay your left hip back on the block. Bring both knees to center, and then pick up your right hip and glide over to your left. And yes, there are some tender places again. And then bring that back to center really slowly. So slower, and my recommendation is going to be more elegant for you. You'll sense the nuance of muscles having to stabilize. You can sense the myriad sensations. And place your right hip back on the block and go to your right side again, please. So to pick up both knees, that requires some inner strength in your pelvis and your abdomen. Come over to a twist as far as you comfortably can. And roll it slowly, slowly back towards the center. So you're going across the back of your trochanter, the outer thigh, bony part of the outer thigh. Then you're behind the trochanter, and then you're between the trochanter and the ilium and the sacrum. You place the left hip back on the block, and you have to pick up your right hip and knee using your inner belly muscles and roll over to your left outer hip. Go ahead and twist as far as you comfortably can. And then roll that back slowly again. Consider that any tension you're holding in this part of your body is also influenced by and influencing your pelvic floor, which then means your breathing and your diaphragm. Please go to the right one more time. And this is all connected to our mental health as well, so let's treat this with great respect. As you roll across to your left one more time, last one. Roll over and noticing sensations. And then roll this slowly back to center. Do not crash down to the blocks. You can gently place your right hip to return to the block. And when both hips are settled, please reach up to take your feet in Baddha Konasana. You can hold the big toes if that's easier. You can hold your ankles. You can hold the outsides of your feet. And let your breath come down into your pelvis. So I said yesterday afternoon that when we move into Vata season, the season of wind and air and ether, Vata has its seat in the colon. So we do a lot of work with the pelvis and with the exhale. So you can float your knees now forward and touch both feet gently back to the floor. Press into your heels, lift your hips, and let's put the two blocks aside. Please roll to your side. And we're going to come back up to the pose we were just doing. So take a wide stance on your mat. So it's my hope that you discover there's something different about this iteration of the same pose. And then we'll take these hips into your Surya Namaskar, into your sun salutation. Okay, so left foot can be parallel to the side of your mat or turn in a tiny bit. Please turn your right foot directly to the right. Walk your hands to the right with the two blocks and bend your right knee. So take notice if there's any way in which pressing your right knee open has become easier. Are you able perhaps to lengthen your right inner thigh more, with more leadership from inside your hip joint? Think of the right thigh like a telescope. You're sending it out to the right to investigate what is to your right. And breathing in, place your right hand up against your right knee and see if there's any greater glide to your right hip joint as you press into your knee with your hand. And try 2 breath cycles more where you might nudge the exhale to be even just slightly longer than your inhale. And then you can straighten your right leg, rotate your toes in, and let's go to explore the other side. Turn your left foot out directly, turn your left knee completely to the left. And as you place your hands on the blocks, press your left knee open without the use of your hand to start. And ask yourself on this side, is there any greater strength or agility for your left knee to press open? We were doing a release for these muscles at the back of your left hip joint. Those muscles are in a group called the deep 6. And sometimes they're holding tension, which means that they aren't able to be facile or agile in working when you need them to. So notice if it's easier to press your left knee open, having released those muscles. And you can add your left hand to your left knee and telescope your left knee out towards the wall on your left. And then with your inhalation, straighten your left leg, bring your left toes in so your feet are parallel. Go ahead and walk the blocks back to center, and let's go heel toe, and check and see what does Uttanasana feel like as you bow towards the legs. It's possible that you've also released your hamstring origins in some of what we were doing there, so just check and see how things are. And then shift your hands to your hips and please rise up to standing. Welcome. Okay, let's check out Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation. And we're going to be using Anjaneyasana Asana and the crescent lunge both today. So please join your hands together. I hope that your hips are feeling agile, facile, that they can take care of you in the practice. And come into your Ujjayi breath, please. With your next inhale, sweep your hands down, wide and up. Exhale, come to chair pose. We do use chair pose more in Vata season than we do in Pitta season. We also use it in Kapha season. So inhale, rise up to upward hands pose, root down to go up. And exhale, bow forward to Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward through your heart. Place your hands on your blocks, rise up to your fingertips. Exhale, left toes back, basic lunge. Inhale, rise up, crescent lunge. Let's stay a short while here. So on the exhale, float your arms out, turn your palms face down. Okay. On the inhale, palms face up and rise up. And exhale, arms wide, float your palms face down. Again, inhale to rise up. And exhale, arms wide, palms face down, just coming out into this T shape right here. And do that one more time. Inhale. And exhale. And pause right here on how to sense what the word equanimity might mean to you. An evenness, maybe a steadiness. You might be able to close your eyes without losing contact with your right outer hip. When you're ready to, you're going to exhale, descend over your right leg. And as you touch the 2 blocks, bring your left knee to the floor. This is for Anjaneyasana. Let's make the 2 blocks tall, please. Press down into the blocks and roll your chest and heart and throat open. And let's add the arms. So inhale, sweep your arms wide. And on the exhale, simply take the arms wide, but out to the side at the level of a T position, palms face down. So inhale to rise up. This is for inspiration. Exhale, arms wide. There's a sense of mental grounding. Bring your mind down out of the ethers into your body. One more time. And then touching the 2 blocks, let's tip them down. And please step your left foot forward to meet your right foot. Breathe in, heart forward. And then exhale for a deep bow towards your legs. Inhale, lengthen your spine forward. We'll do the other side of the sequence. The exhale, right toes back. Kind of place your feet so they're hip width apart, left to right. And you're going to inhale, rise up, root down into your left heel, and know where your left outer hip is. So be inside the hip joint right there. Yeah. So exhale, arms wide, palms face down, gazing forward. Inhale, rise up. This is for optimism, inspiration. Exhale, arms wide, gaze forward. Bring your mind down into your body. Again, please. This time as you come down to that T shape, imagine the quality of equanimity. What would that mean for you? Like an evenness or a steadiness. Not a rigidity, not an unbending nature, but equanimity. And exhale, and as you come forward, touch the 2 blocks, touch your right knee down to the floor. And then tip the blocks up tall. So no sense of hanging in your left hip socket. Press down lightly into your fingertips to help roll your chest and heart open. And then inhale, raise your arms up. As you're breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose. Exhale, arms wide, palms face down, so your mind is encouraged to come down into your body. And inhale, reach up for optimism, for inspiration, for confidence. Exhale, arms wide, gaze forward. One more time. And then exhale, arms wide. We are going to come forward, so tip the 2 blocks to touch on the medium setting. And now let's step backwards, please, to downward dog pose. And this afternoon we will use the 2 blocks for downward dog. This means that your hips will go a little further back and your heels might go a little further down. Inhale smoothly through your nose. Notice the back of the throat and then the breath coming down to lightly touch the pelvic floor. And exhale, glide forward to plank pose. Touch your knees lightly down. Put the knees a little bit wider than your hips. Touch the big toes together. And reach backwards to child's pose. Place a block under your head for child's pose, please. And encourage your hips to be a little heavier towards your heels. So child's pose is one of the poses we use for navigating or for nourishing Vata, the Vata dosha. And this is because in child's pose, your head is downward and inward, your attention is inward towards your center, but also your hips are heavier towards your heels, the knees are in towards the abdomen, so the colon is getting a gentle massage, even though we've made a little space for the abdomen. So it's a Vata reducing, a Vata grounding pose, child's pose. I'm going to ask you to walk your hands back towards your knees and please rise up to kneeling and reach for a blanket. I'm going to ask you to put this under your knees. So take the blanket wide like this and fold it in half twice, length to length, because I want you to have the padding. You go like so. Okay, and there you have. Right? Now I'm going to ask you to scoot to the left side of your blanket and stand up on your high knees like this. Okay, so you're a little bit on this side as if this was a typewriter bar. You're over here to the left side of the typewriter bar. Take your right foot and step it out to the right. And ease into your right thigh. So the left thigh is going to be at a slight angle here, kind of like doing Warrior Two, but down in a kneeling position. And press the right knee open using the outer hip muscles. And take the back of your right hand against the right knee. You can press gently open. Lengthen your right inner thigh. Yeah. Something that can be a consideration for the left knee is if your kneecap is just forward of the blanket, you don't have pressure on it. You do have pressure on the shin bone. Now start gliding your right elbow to slide down. Yeah, there you go. And sweep your left arm past your left ear. So what we're going to do here on the inhale, you'll reach up with the left arm, but on the exhale, glide your left arm out, palm face down and gaze down. Bring your mind back into your body. And then inhale, raise your left arm, gaze up. Keep the right knee pressing open, please. And exhale, sweep your left arm wide, palm face down, gaze down. And twice more. So no sense of hanging in or collapsing into your right hip joint. Exhale, left arm wide. Keep your right knee pressing open. Last one. Okay, let's exhale and rise up to center. And then step your right foot in. And you can go to the other side of your typewriter bar. Okay, and step your left foot out to the left. You're going to go past the edge of the blanket. And then come into your left hip. Yeah, so the left inner thigh wants to be long here. But the left outer hip needs to be strong. You should not feel like we're about to hammock into the left hip joint. Press your left knee open just from the strength at the outer hip. And when you add your left hand, the back of your hand, add that without pressure, right? So without coercion. You can tone the back of the right butt, in fact, so you'll have some support on both sides of the pelvis. And you start gliding your left elbow down, down. Maybe it doesn't go as far as the first side, maybe it does. And sweep your right arm. Good. And then when you exhale, sweep your right arm wide, palm face down, gaze down. Inhale, raise your right arm, gaze up. And exhale, glide down with your right arm, gaze down. And twice more. As you exhale, bring your mind down into your body. Keeping the left outer hip toned, do it one more time. Inhale to reach up past your left ear. And then exhale, use your pelvic and hip muscles to rise back up and step your left knee in. So you're on the tall knees one more time, your high knees. Yeah. And then keeping your knees on the blankets, take your hips back to your heels so that you now have your knees higher in your child's pose. Take the block for your head and check and see what this child's pose feels like this time. So it's possible that the work we were just doing in the pelvis would allow you to have your knees a little closer to each other without a feeling of pinching in the inner groin. You might find the hip sockets descend a little bit better, and your child's pose, your pelvis feels a little bit heavier, a little more grounded. And then please walk your hands back towards your knees, rise up to kneeling. Now we have this lengthwise blanket available. Let's step over and take a seat on it, please. And put the soles of your feet together in Baddha Konasana. There you are. Okay. So feet together in Baddha Konasana, you can hold the big toes and reach up through the heart. Press your knees down towards the floor. Now, it's not that we've done a huge amount of only inner thigh stretching, inner thigh stretching, inner thigh stretching. We're also trying to access the strength at the outer hips. So notice when you press your knees down, do they go with more ease? Not only because your inner thighs got some stretching, but perhaps also because the outer hips can be more agile. Those tiny muscles in the family called the deep six. And then you can come slightly forward. Maybe some of you are going to come greatly forward, but come forward to the extent that your body is able to say yes to this. And then let's return to counting or pacing the breath. Not vigorously, not coercively, but with curiosity, with intention. Now walk your hands forward and see if your knees and feet can stay as they are. So you're pressing the knees out by using the outer hip muscles. Now if you start pressing the toes against each other, you can imagine telescoping the knees towards the sides of the room. The knees are going out and down. And roll yourself back up to sitting, and let's bring the knees up to center, please, and reach out to Dandasana. We also did Dandasana on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday now, I can't remember. So in Dandasana, notice how grounded your legs can be right now. And now we're going to do a little stretch for the psoas, and you can use the same blanket that we have already folded. I never should use the word little when I say the word psoas. So an option is to keep the just same blanket that you have right now. But another option is to take this blanket and fold it in thirds, so it's going to be a tiny bit thicker. And that's a personal choice that you're going to make based on what you know about your psoas muscle. So we're going to be placing the hips up on the blanket. And when you lie backwards, you'll have your pelvis elevated by the blanket, And this means that when you bring, let's say, your right knee to your chest, the left leg goes out to release the left psoas. And let's start with your right knee into your chest first, please. So of course, the higher the blanket, the more stretch you're going to have for the psoas, but it doesn't equivalate to say more is better, because what is doable, what's receivable, what we can integrate is better than what we can't integrate. That which we're fighting against would not be a better experience in the body for yoga. So this position is called Apanasana. We do right knee, left knee, and then both knees. This is also a release for Vata, the air element, in the colon. As you lengthen from your left hip, even your left low belly, into your left heel, think of this as lengthening your left psoas and also inviting Vata to exit through the pathway of the colon. We used to call this, in one system of yoga that I was practicing, we called it the wind removing pose or the wind relieving pose. And I didn't really know what that meant for a long time, then I came to understand. Now float your left knee up to your chest, so you've got both knees. So you just had this pressure against the right side of the colon, which is called the ascending colon. Now you bring both knees to the chest, massage across the transverse colon. And keeping your left knee in snug to your chest, take the right leg straight out. So you're going to lengthen your right psoas. Now you're giving a little squeeze to the left side of the colon, the descending colon. And gently breathing in, and gently breathing out. And notice the quality of the right psoas relative to the left. Not with a comparison attitude, but with a curiosity attitude. And keeping in mind that your psoas is also tied to your mental health. Be kind, and be ever more kind. And float your left knee up to your chest. And let's do both knees to the chest. Okay, and now take your tiptoes back to the floor, please. They don't need to crash. You can place them down there. Pick up your hips and just put the blanket right in front of your sitting bones so that when you take the legs out over the blanket, your pelvis has a slight posterior tilt to it. Yeah. And take the arms out to the side. And close your eyes if you like. You can have them open if you prefer. And just imagine now the medicine of your practice going deeply into your body. The medicine of your practice going within. So this is the part of your practice where your body intelligence comes in and it cleans the pathways. Neurological, respiratory, circulatory, also subtle body pathways. So invite yourself to deeply relax and to let life care for you right now. Nothing you need to do for this care to happen. Only perhaps we could say to surrender into the care, your body intelligence, nature, life at large, all caring for you right now. Let everything rest. Your eyes, your tongue, your thumbs, your pinkies, your pelvis, your colon, heels and toes. Welcome everything to rest. Gravity is welcoming you back home to the earth. And the medicine of your practice is working within you right now. Let everything rest. Your mind and your eyes, your tongue, hands and fingers and thumbs, your heart, your arms, the torso, the colon, your pelvis, legs, heels and toes. As you continue to rest, just feel gravity welcoming you back home to the earth. She remembers you. Let everything rest. The medicine of your practice is occurring right now within you. Just trusting in the process, the wisdom already caring for you. to rest. Gravity, the earth, they are remembering you, welcoming you back home. The mind and your eyes, the tongue, hands and fingers and thumbs. Let your heart rest, and the colon and the pelvis, heels and toes. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Yotirgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. For the next few moments, you just can quietly sense your body and the pulsation of life. And gently wiggle your toes, your fingers. In your own time, you can bend one knee and then the other. Before rising up to sitting, please roll to your right side and rest there before you return. As you rise up to sit, come to a comfortable seat, please, an upright seat. notice the feeling tone in you. And quite likely this natural internal sense of connection to all that is, to everyone and everything. And arising with that, corresponding with that, is a natural concern for the welfare of everyone, our society and civilization. As you bring your hands together at your heart, imagine in the center of your palms, just sort of cupping this inner sense of connection, concern, compassion. And we'll sing Om Shanti together. The first Shanti, may there be inner peace. The second, may there be peace amongst us. The third, may there be peace in all the realms. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Om. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Namaste. May your vata be grounded, so when you feel this consideration for humanity, you don't feel it in an ungrounded way, like an embodied sense of your native capacity to have consideration and even concern for the welfare of everyone and everything. Thank you for being here. How are you feeling?